Good morning. Today is April 18th, and we are kicking off the village gathering. I believe this is number 6, and we are going to be starting off talking about ourselves. We started off the village, and I started off because I wanted to go through the acronym that I created, more for myself and then for my kid, to help us when we tend to react instead of respond. And the acronym is PAUSE, P-A-U-S-E. We went through P, which stands for presence and stillness. And then we went to A, which is awareness of what's going on within us, the feelings that are coming up, and how our body tends to feel physically as well as emotionally. And then we went into U, and we've been on U for a while, where we've been talking about understanding what's going on, understanding our emotions, understanding why they're coming up, understanding what trauma does. And now, after a few sessions with understanding, we're going to go into self, S for self. And that is also a big topic. And we're going to stay in self for a while. And I think this is the right place to be. And we have some guest speakers coming, including someone who's here today who's going to help us truly, truly connect with ourselves. So we're kicking that off today. And before we get into today's practice, I do have a poll, so I'll just read it out for people who are going to listen to the recording. Okay. When you think about prioritizing yourself, when it comes to self-care, rest, or prioritizing yourself, or taking care of yourself, which thought shows up first? I don't have time for that right now. I should finish everything else first. Other people need me more than I need the rest. That sounds nice, but not realistic for my life. I'll do it later when things calm down. Or I feel guilty even thinking about putting myself first. I don't even think about it until I'm really exhausted or I'm already exhausted. I do make time for myself, but it's not always consistent. All right. I think for me, the top one that comes up is I don't have time for that right now. And I should finish everything first before I take a break for myself. So we've got a couple with I should finish everything first. Yep. I'll do it later when things calm down. And yay, 50% are I do make time for myself, but it's not always consistent, which is fantastic. So I want you to notice that when we have those thoughts, like I don't have time for myself or others need me, or, for me, it's I have got a little kid, so, I can't rest for myself. He needs me. These are patterns and these are coming up for a reason. And if we had to refer back to what we talked about last time with internal family systems, these are our protector parts. Or we can say it differently, these are patterns that have come up because we've learned something at some point in our lives that it wasn't safe to slow down, that it wasn't okay to put ourselves first, or that our worth was tied to our productivity, that our worth had to be earned. So when we tell ourselves, I don't have time to rest, it isn't really about the time. I wonder if it is about, I don't deserve to rest. I know I felt that way often. If you peel off an onion layer, it sometimes comes back to self-worth. So last time we talked a lot about parts therapy and internal family systems and the parts that we carry, the parts that carry our emotions, the parts that react, the parts that try to protect us. Today, we're stepping away from that into the self, which is not the parts. Self is not a part. Self is the one who notices the parts, who is the observer, who is the witness. He or she is the compassionate witness. And when we are in self, we're not overwhelmed by our parts. We're not taken over by the parts. We're not taken over or overwhelmed by the emotions. And when we are in self, we can't think that I don't deserve to rest. I love the question that's come up, and I'm going to share it here. I think it would help to define what self-care actually is. Because for me, it has this connotation of spa day, like get your hair cut or foot massage. And then it's easy to say, no, I don't like those things. Could it be defined as simply accepting your current feelings or state of mind? I'm going to say that again. Could it be defined as simply accepting your current feelings or state of mind? I love that. It could be defined as connecting with yourself, which is exactly what we just said, which is what you're saying too, which is connecting with yourself, accepting your current state, accepting where you're at, accepting your state of mind, accepting even that maybe you do need that rest or a pause. And does self-care have to be a full day off going to the spa? Does self-care have to be a complete step away or a break from reality to go take a breather and then reset and come back? It could be as simple as a pause, as 10 seconds, as 5 seconds. It could be as simple as a coffee you're drinking right now. It could be as simple as taking 5 deep breaths for yourself while driving in the car, stuck in traffic. Self could be so, so easy to get into. It could be as simple as hiding in the bathroom for 2 minutes. I love that. And it could be as simple as a meditation that lasts, what, 5 seconds, 10 seconds? Just a deep breath here, connecting with yourself, connecting with your heart, checking in with yourself. Self-care is also, and also can be, checking in with yourself. The purpose of connecting with yourself is to not be in the parts, to not be overwhelmed by our emotions, to be connected with the true self that is all knowing, all resourceful, whole, complete, not broken, has all the answers, is connected, and is able to show up with clarity, confidence, calm, courageous, compassionate, curious, and creative. And self isn't something we have to create or try to, struggle to find or strive to get into. Self is already within us. And one of the ways we can recognize we're in self is through what I just kind of mentioned, which are the 8 C's that Martha Beck talks about, which are clarity, calm, confidence, courage, compassion, curiosity, and creativity. Adding those in the chat for everyone too. So we're going to take a minute right now and take a second to really ground ourselves today. So I invite you to gently close your eyes or gaze off to the distance and bring to your mind a time where you felt maybe even one of these qualities, maybe a couple of those qualities, maybe as many as you can. And I'm going to read them out to you. So again, the idea is to bring to mind a time where you felt calm, clear, connected, compassionate, curious, confident, courageous, creative. It doesn't have to be a big moment. It could be something simple, a conversation, a quiet morning, a moment with your child, a walk outside in nature. Just notice which of these qualities feel easiest to access and are coming up right now. See what you saw in that moment that you've gone back to. Hear what you heard. And most importantly, feel what you felt. Notice not only the emotions, but go into your body. How does your body feel in that moment? Notice your breath in that moment. Notice your posture. What are you doing? And notice the energy in your body. Notice physically what your body is feeling, physically what it is sensing. And recognize this as yourself. Recognize that you are you who you're truly supposed to be, and you are not any of the parts that tend to come in. And this is what we want to build access to. So I'm going to keep going, stay in that visualization if you can. I want you to, in this place of self, let go of that experience, let go of that moment, but stay with the feeling, stay with the situation, and imagine in front of you a container. And this is your container. This container represents you, your energy, your capacity. Is it a cup? Is it a jar or a bowl? What is it made of? Is it a glass? Is it made of glass? Is it metal, ceramic? And now look inside. How full is it right now? Without judgment, just notice, is it halfway full? Or, as some people say, half empty? Is it all the way empty? Is it full or overflowing? And did you notice what it's filled with? Is it liquid? Is it light? Is it water? Is it colored? Is it solid? Are there marbles or pebbles? Now, from this place of self, ask yourself, what would fill my container today? Maybe something small, like a cup of tea, like a walk, or a connection with someone you love. Maybe it's something bigger. Since it's the weekend, is it a rest afternoon or morning? Is it space? Is it setting a boundary of not showing up where you're expected to? And see yourself placing or adding one little drop or pebble or light, whatever goes into your container, and watch it fill just a little bit more as you decide on that one thing that you want to fill your container with today. And notice that you don't have to earn this. You don't have to do anything to deserve this. You are just allowed. Just because you're here, because you exist, you are allowed to fill your container. You're allowed to add to your container. In fact, you're allowed to add to your container before you add to others. See if there's anything else you need to do with this container for now, or just in your mind's eye, make sure you know exactly what it looks like, what it feels like, what it's going to look like, what it's going to be filled with, where it's going to sit. Is it going to sit on your nightstand? Is it going to sit in your bathroom while you're brushing your teeth? Where is it going to sit in your mind's eye? When are you going to be able to check in with it? And now let this become a practice where you can check in with this container throughout every day, throughout the day, checking in, noticing when it's running low and what could be used to refill it, and choosing what you can refill it with. I'll share that I have done this before with a client of mine, and feel free to come on back in as I keep talking as you finish up on this. And it can be a beautiful way to check in with ourselves, check in on what's needed in the moment, what's needed today, what's needed this week, as we even come up with our calendars for the week. So we can then make sure to block off time for ourselves, to take that minute to restore ourselves every day even, and to do what I'm doing today. This gathering is another thing that can fill someone's container. It definitely fills mine. And that's why I keep doing it even when it can be hard sometimes to show up. So I'm going to say this and see how it lands with you. Self-worth is required and is what allows self-care. Self-worth is required. Self-worth is what allows self-care. And if we don't feel worthy, we will always find a reason to delay caring for ourselves. We will find a reason to step away from ourselves and to not be connected with ourselves. When we treat ourselves not worthy, when we treat ourselves this way that we don't deserve this care for ourselves, whatever it is, a second, a minute, a day, when we treat ourselves this way, we're modeling that for people around us. When you are a parent and you are modeling that your child and their emotions are all that matter, and your own self-care doesn't, that you don't want to let them feel bad when you take time for yourselves, it trickles through to their reality. And when their parents, or even maybe before that, you know, we are supposed to give ourselves to others. We're supposed to not care for ourselves and care for others' emotions. If we believe we have to earn rest, that's what they're going to learn too. And if we ignore our own needs, they're learning to ignore theirs. But if we could just show up from this place of self, calm, connected, compassionate, courageous, confident, curious, creative, we can then teach them how to do the same. And this matters even in leadership. I always try to tell my son, who's really good at mentioning this now, when you see a leader, can you pick, is this leader someone who leads with fear to gain respect, or is this someone who leads with love and compassion to gain respect? Which one is going to be a better leader? Which one is the future we want? So, before I close up on this, I want to just speak to this idea that we all have hard things. We all have situations that take us away, that disconnect us, that distract us. You know, we live in this fast-paced world. We've got social media, we've got the news, we've got everything at our fingertips that takes us away and disconnects us. And that is why it's even more important to connect with ourselves, because it's so easy to get disconnected from ourselves. And just this awareness, just this check-in with this container, or however you want to do it, looking at yourself in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth in the morning or combing your hair, just that connection, that awareness, and then that connection to ourselves can bring us back to ourselves. It can be as simple as saying hello to ourselves in the mirror. And hopefully it can move closer towards some more kind, compassionate, loving words to ourselves. Good morning, beautiful. It's good to see you again. You're going to have a great day. How different would that day start if you started with that? And that small little connection. And that shift is what I'm hoping for with this village as well. I'm going to pause right there and open it up for everyone. We're talking about creativity and how creativity doesn't have to be an act of doing something. It could be as simple as a reframe, a phrase that can be introduced throughout your life and throughout your day when you say, oh, how could I do that differently? And that too is being creative. And then if we were to talk about how, when we're in that creative state, whether it is in that moment, just adding in that phrase of how could I do this differently? When we're in that creative state for that moment in our lives, or when we're in that creative state of actively creating something physically or mentally, whether it's writing a book or writing a newsletter or writing something else, or drawing or painting or creating music or humming even, when we're in that creative space, we do not have access to anxiety and fear and overwhelm and ruminating. And curiosity is the same way, which is a great hack, if you want to call it that. When we are, and I do this often with my kid, when we are in a situation where it's easy to get triggered, for example, my kid's going crazy around me and is misbehaving, Instead of being triggered, I work on being curious. I wonder why he's doing that. And when we go into curiosity, that's another way that anxiety shuts down, fear shuts down, overwhelm shuts down, because again, both of them cannot be online at the same time. This is how our brains work. We've got anxiety, fear, overwhelm, rumination on one side, and we've got clarity, confidence, calm, curiosity on the other. And as we access this calm, this curious, this creative side of us, we are able to step away from that anxiety, from that fear, even in that moment, even in a triggered moment. So it can be used then to get us away from that triggering moment and to respond instead of react, as we've been talking about all this time. And as we continue to practice or spend time creating and being in that space, whether it is creating, because that's an active way that some people prefer, rather than being connected or mindful and doing meditation, which can be more of a state that's harder for some people to be in. When we're in that state of creating, when they're in that state, we are strengthening our neurons, our neural pathways to move easier towards that state so that when we are triggered in the future, it's easier to access this self, this connected, calm, compassionate, creative self, because we've already been building that roadway, that neural pathway, that easier path to flow down over time, which is why being creative and taking the time to be creative, taking the time to be mindful, taking the time to connect with ourselves is so important, because it allows us to build these neural pathways that can serve us in the future as well. So a lot of times we are able to bring up curiosity and creativity and all these things that we need to be when we're at work, when we're functioning, when we're supposed to be doing what we're doing. But at the end of the day, when we come back home, when we are in our family environment, we tend to just be done and not able to access this calm, creative, connected, curious self. And the reason that happens is because we have basically not filled our cups up. And when we have been giving and doing all the work and showing up everywhere all day throughout the day for our patients, for our clients, for everyone else, we're on empty. And when we come home, we don't have anything left to give. So if we could instead work on filling ourselves up constantly throughout the day with these few check-ins, with these seconds here and there, with these cups of coffee or a nice warm tea or a couple of breaths or chatting in the car with someone that helps us connect with ourselves. All of this allows us to fill our cups up so that when we get home, we can show up again better for the other people that also deserve our connection. And they can get it only when we first connect with ourselves and recognize that we deserve that connection with ourselves first. There's this idea, which has been something that's stuck with me since probably last year. It's a metaphor of the lighthouse. And if we were imagining ourselves as the lighthouse that's shining this light out, I truly believe that as we stay in our true selves and shine our light, it allows others to find their own and to shine their own lights, to find their way home, even as that metaphor would go. Because when we are truly shining the way we're supposed to be and truly shining from authenticity, from our truth, from not trying to fit in or belong or to shift or to put a mask on, when we're truly shining, we're allowing the space for others to show up the same way and to truly shine as well. And who knows, we could shift a room in the way we show up if we stayed to our authentic self. Our discussion just went into a beautiful space about this idea that how do we bring more calm in? Say, for example, if we're in a team meeting and everyone is just kind of disconnected and not really showing up, and the one who's sharing the story was just sharing how she still shows up connected and curious and creative and chatting and talking, and how she feels doubtful if that's her role to play because no one else is connected, no one else is talking, no one else is showing up. People are folding laundry instead of showing up. So, what came up is this idea from another person in the room in the village that when we don't show up as ourselves, we don't stay true to ourselves. That is actually one of the times when we are most disconnected with ourselves, when we are putting on a mask, when we are showing up differently, when we are trying to fit in by assuming what others want and doing that or being that person. When we lose connection most with ourselves is when we are not authentic. And that is such a big, important part of self and connection that we're talking about today. Because if we change who we are and we're not true to ourselves, we are no longer connected with ourselves. We are showing up as inauthentic. We're showing up as an alien, as someone foreign to ourselves. And that disconnect can actually lead to all of our physical symptoms sometimes. The panic, the disassociation, the fear, the imposter syndrome, the burnout, the depression, the pain in our body, the physical pain, the autoimmune conditions, all of it can start with this idea of inauthenticity. What if you are doing more or changing who you are or doing something that you truly don't want to do just to people please or just to please others or just to not rock the boat? And when we are not true to ourselves, that's when we are disconnected and can no longer show up the way we are meant to. Some people in the village gathering also discussed how some of the seas are easily accessible to them, whereas others are not. And I wanted to point out that you don't have to access every single one of them. Even accessing one or two allows us to be more connected with ourselves and separate from those patterns, those parts, those loops, those spirals of fear and anxiety. So, whichever it may be, maybe you are someone who stays more in the zone of curiosity or creativity and cannot stay in the zone of calm or stillness, which is completely okay. And I wanted to reiterate that what we find allows us to truly be connected to ourselves is what works for each of us. We do not have to conform to everyone else and go off into the woods and meditate for an hour every day like everyone else does or says they should, like everyone says we're supposed to. It can be those small moments where you can stay true and connected to yourselves. It can be a movement or active meditation, even, including dancing, listening to music, or singing, or humming, or being silly, or laughing, or even a walking meditation, or just a practice. What is a walking meditation? It's a practice of just noticing physically what your body is doing when you're walking, where you plant your feet, which foot gets up, which muscle gets activated, just noticing your breath in the moment, noticing the smells around you. That alone, in even that active situation, is a meditative process that allows you to connect to the present moment, which is what we're talking about. When we stay in the present moment, we are connected. And when we are connected with ourselves, we can easier connect with others. Thank you for listening.